Are you ready?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Tool to Play presents Still Got Game with Derek D. Smooth Nolan and Joel Dude I Rock Albert.
Hey now! Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Still Got Game, episode 18. Still Got Game is the official podcast of tooltoplay.com. I am, as always, Derek D. Smooth Nolan.
And I am Joel Dude I Rock Albert.
What's going on, Joel Dude I Rock Albert?
Not much. I heard there was a console release. I don't play video games, so I don't really know what it was. But I heard there was one.
This is a non-video game podcast. So.
But that's about it. Weekend was good. Got my PS4 on Friday, and now I'll go into how horrible of an experience that was for me. Not everyone, but for me. But other than that, been trying to, quote unquote, play my PS4. What about you?
Nice. I had the same sort of issues. We got our PS4 on Friday, and despite getting the patch update easily, that was no-brainer. Then it was anything you had to do with PSN sucked. God forbid you wanted to go find some friends. That sucked. If you wanted to buy a game and download it, that sucked. Lots of negative 8-digit error numbers. Services down, can't connect, connection timed out, services down, plan downtime. Yeah, plan downtime on your launch. Of course you plan that.
Exactly.
But by the time Saturday, I would say Saturday midday rolled around, it seemed like everything was at least running. Everything wasn't dialed in yet because I didn't get that feed at the bottom of the PS4 dashboard that shows like big tiles for all your friends' shit, what they're doing, what they've accomplished.
Right.
That didn't show up until sometime late. And actually, that was early Sunday morning that showed up. And now everything seems good.
So you're good. You're
Yeah.
good. Okay, so my experience was not as beautiful. That I still don't have a happy ending. So I got mine. I think at like 6 o'clock on Friday. Same problems as everybody else. So I'd like to. No need to go over PSN. Everyone knows that it was like a piece of shit. I almost feel like that's a given nowadays. For whatever reason, companies don't understand that a lot of people are going to buy their product and use it all at once. That seems to not be. That's a hard thing to plan for because it's a burst of a bunch of people, and then generally over time it levels off. So why buy a bunch of servers for X amount of days until things sort of level off? So I get that. That was bad. Tried to download a game like you, couldn't. Still cannot get it to accept my credit card, so I cannot buy any video games. I can do PayPal. But I don't want
Weird.
So there's no way. I contacted them. They don't know what's going on. I contacted my credit card company. They don't know what's going on. Couldn't buy any games. Downloaded. What is it? What is that free to play?
Warframe?
Downloaded Warframe. Could not play the game. Every time I tried to, it tried to patch itself. I would get stuck in an infinite loop of rebooting to blue screen, white screen of death, reboot again into safe mode, white screen of death. Wanted to throw the PlayStation out the window. I was fucking swearing and bitching and blah, blah, blah. Finally, I said, fine. I don't want to play games. I'm not going to play any video games on this thing. I just want to stream a movie and watch some shit that's on my computer.
Oh, that's not there
Didn't
yet.
even know this. You can't stream media from your local area network to your PlayStation. Why would that be available to me?
Because it was on the PS3, but it's definitely not on the PS4
They
yet.
took it away.
It wasn't going to be at all. And then they backpedaled and said they'll add it. But
So literally, I currently have a $300 doorstop.
$400.
$400. Sorry, yeah, $400 doorstop. So yes, the product could be good. But it's currently a piece of shit for me. So, and again, I hate people were like, dude, he hates PlayStation. That's not true. I'm just saying I don't know if I hate it yet because I haven't played it yet. I own it one. It's in the living room. It doesn't currently do anything. It lights up blue and flashes, but yeah. But Saturday I did get you on my friends list. I got a couple other the normal features started rolling in and things started to on that front be taken care of. But I've yet to play a video game on it. So,
You're not the last person to play a video game on it.
That's true.
Close.
So we'll see. I mean, I did download Killzone. I think I got it to boot like Sunday morning, but I was on the way out. So Killzone did boot after I did PayPal. Looks beautiful, right? I mean, I will say it looks gorgeous. I mean, that's there you go.
Everything's sexy on it.
Everything's sexy.
I guess we'll get more to what I did on it.
Sure.
A little bit later in the show. But I guess why don't we just jump in the show proper? Then we'll quickly hit feedback from last week's show, and then we'll get into the hellhole that's tonight's show. Like we did one hellhole of a show last week, and we got another hellhole of a show this week. So remember, if you want to leave us a voicemail, it will cut you off after a minute. Acid Snow comments. It's true that people are disappointed about the one launching with games that run at 720p, and the reason they're upset is because they've already played 8 years worth of 720p games. But now it's almost 2014, and basically everyone owns a 1080p monitor. Once again, I'm going to stop in the middle of the comment. This is kind of the simplistic way to look at it. 720p with 16 times anti-aliasing and all kinds of particle and motion effects may be better at 60 frames a second, may be better than 1080p that has a choppy frame rate at, it's supposed to be 60 frames a second, but it's crapping out and shitting out, and you're getting, 50 here, 60 here, 50 here, 60 here, and it's freezing up. You're having stutters, and they don't have anti-aliasing turn on. You might actually end up with more jaggies at 1080p, 60 frames a second than you would at 720p. So that aside, he continues, however, I'm personally okay with the 720 resolution for the new consoles as long as the games run at 60 frames per second. Okay, that's cool. But I agree with you guys that there's a rocket ton of propellant that benefits the art design of a game. Just take Halo 4, for example. It was a super sexy rocket bro-worthy game, despite running at 30 frames a second, 720p resolution. The reason Halo 4 gets a pass in my book is because 343 managed to hide the limitations of an 8-year-old console and made it shine as if it were built on a PC. And you were there the very first night. You and I and Tiff and Mr. GBMS played Halo 4, and we were all shocked by the quality
absolutely. Yeah.
of that game. And that's exactly what can happen at the tail end of a cycle once people have found out how to... This isn't a PC. There's not awesomely tuned graphics drivers from NVIDIA or ATI. Right. These guys are writing down to the bare metal hardware. And there's some abstraction layers, but this is new to them too. And everybody's just out of the gate. They're like, okay, this is the API they gave us. This is where to work to. And as time moves on, they say, oh, you know what? We can do this better than we did in our last game by doing this, or we can make these calls direct, like super bare metal versus going through this abstraction layer. And as that happens over the next couple of years, games are going to start looking that much better and better and better. And that's how you end up with these games that look fucking phenomenal at the end of a console's life cycle. So you can't shit on the launch games for that, because these guys were developing these games before there was hardware. They were developing on PCs with console-like specs. And as we know, Xbox had 2 big spec jumps right at the end of just like a month and a half before launch. So you can't blame them for that. And I think we're just going to see things get better and better as the life cycle goes on.
Yeah, it's just going to take time. I mean, no one knows, and this is even for the war and all, like, who's going to win. Me and Derek said this too. Like, when it comes down to even the sales, no one will know what happens. Unfortunately, at the end of a life cycle, that's when you know who wins and who doesn't. And to Sony's credit, with the PS3, they actually did quite well at the end of their life cycle. They really came up against the Xbox. It just took them 7 years to do. So let's not look at that. Like, let's just play the games we like to play. As long as they come out looking pretty, as long as they come out looking good, then everybody wins here. There's really no winner. You pick whatever system you're going to play on with all of your friends and has the games that you want to play. That's what you play. That's it. Right?
Exactly.
That's it. All right.
All right. And Doggy Styles comments. Holy shit, I'm still LMFAOing on your comments on Super Motherload, the 2D digging RPG last week. I was laughing so hard in my car that people were looking over at me on the highway. Thanks. Yeah, that's probably the world's only 2D digging RPG ever. And it probably will be the last one.
I would hope so.
Besides Dig Dug.
Now I wanted to do like really successful and take over like WoW and Minecraft, and everyone's just really into sort of this 2D digging action adventure game. That would be my goal.
You see the expansion coming out for Super Motherload, dude? Sharper shovels.
Super ultra jizz Motherload. Can't wait.
Yes, I can imagine. We did kind of go off the hook on that. We were a little loosey goosey with our comments, but. And you actually showed some of it on the video stream for those of you that watch the video, but it's an amazing, huge steaming pile of shit.
It's everything you thought it was going to be.
Yeah. By the description saying a 2D digging RPG, That's exactly what you're getting.
No surprises.
No more.
No, you get what they say and then that's it. Yeah.
They put it out there on Front Street and you get exactly what they say.
Exactly.
All right. Well, if any of you have feedback, give us a call at 773-527-2961. Email us at podcast@tooltoplay.com. And quickly in site-related news, because we have a lot of other stuff to go through tonight. If you joined the stream for the Sony PS4 launch this week, Hitman did. A great viewership, awesome. Hitman loves doing those things, and he seemed to have really good response, positive stuff in the chat. He's doing one again this week, Thursday night, into the midnight launch Friday morning. For the Xbox One launch, that's twitch.tv/tooltoplay. Join Hitman, and he will do that shit up, and you'll have a good time.
Goddamn straight.
And I guess on that, we'll hop over to what we're playing. Joel, Dude I Rock, Albert, have you played anything?
Well, I did. Like I said, I played just a smidge, and I want to say maybe an hour of campaign of Killzone. It's beautiful, and it plays really well. I was actually shocked because I haven't really been into FPSs, and the cool part about it was I didn't even play multiplayer because, again, I couldn't sign on, couldn't get on PSN, couldn't play multiplayer. But I played about an hour, maybe even like 45 minutes of Killzone. It looks gorgeous. It plays extremely smooth. It's a well-designed game so far. I had a lot of fun with the weaponry. I love the grappling hook. It's one of the coolest things they've done in FPS in a while. You know, you kind of get to shoot a grappling hook. It's not a grappling hook. It's more of like a zip line. But, you know, if there's ever any decline, you can kind of like zip down and jump off at any point while firing. So you get a lot of cool dynamic fights that way. But yeah, the game looks great. Hopefully after this podcast, since I just got back from work, I'll actually get in and see if the PlayStation plays, and I'll put some more time into it. But yeah, that's the only PlayStation 4 game I got a chance to do anything with. What about you?
I guess that's better than nothing.
Yeah,
well,
sure.
Obviously, it was a whole week. So the week started out, most of the week was, I didn't have a PS4 yet. So played a whole shitload of Diablo 3, played the Borderlands 2 Tiny Tina DLC, which was really fun. So any of you that don't have your next-gen consoles yet and you have Borderlands 2, this is possibly the greatest DLC of any game I've ever played. So this is super fun, funny, good time. Highly recommend picking this up if you don't already have it. Played a couple hours of Halo 4, and then came the glory of the PS4. Oh! And obviously, I didn't want to jump into a shooter on the PS4 because I know come this Friday, I'm going to be all over Call of Duty Ghosts. So what we ended up picking up was, well, I'll get to that in a second. I played for the XBLA games, or the PSN games for the PS4, played Resogun, which is super fun. That reminds me a lot of Geometry Wars, but kind of around a cylinder. So you're constantly working this infinite cylinder that you're going around, and it's the same kind of thing. You're killing guys, you're picking up little green shit to power yourself up. Super good time. Played a couple games of Warframe, which for a free-to-play, third-person, squad-based shooter, a lot of fun. Some people had trouble figuring out the game. So the games that I was in, 3 of our 4 squad guys had completed the objective. We went to the extraction point, and one of our guys is just stumbling around the map. We're watching him on the radar. Like, he can't figure out where the fuck he's supposed to go. But it was a good time. It looks amazing, especially for a free-to-play game. The graphics on that are phenomenal. And then the game that we picked up to start off the PS4 stuff, because obviously we have 2 controllers, and it's Tiff and I and 4 kids. So what we ended up getting was Injustice: Gods Among Us, the Ultimate Edition, which is Injustice at 1080p 60 frames a second with all the DLC that came out on last gen consoles, but obviously it looks all next gen-ish, and it is an awesome, super fun fighting game with all your favorite DC characters, and we've had a blast with it. So we did the old school arcade method. So winner continues, and the controller people are signing in with their PSN ID, play the next game, and rinse and repeat. And we did that for 2 days of that. Nonstop. So that I can't recommend that more. If you don't already have Injustice and you're looking for it, for $60 you get Injustice, all the DLC. We bought it via PSN download, so it just sits on the PlayStation. Don't have to swap any discs in. Like I said, that's my big thing this generation is I don't want any fucking discs ever.
Me too.
And this was the start of that, and now we can switch between that and any of our other games. I don't even know where the drive is in the front of the PlayStation 4. I didn't even look that close. I don't know where it is.
The irony is, okay, so when my PS4 was exploding and flames it was a giant piece of shit. I went to see if because I thought, oh, maybe they have a boot disc in there. Sometimes there's a boot, they fuck something up. I don't know. I was out of options.
In, the disc they used to flash the
exactly. So I was so out of options. Maybe that's it. And I'm staring at the front of this PS4 because people don't read manuals. I'm like, where the fuck is the drive bay in this thing? Where is it? And so I'm hitting the eject button, which I found out, is on the front right next to the power. But I didn't, I for some reason expected a tray to come out. There's a tray that comes out. Well, it's not. It's an actual disc loaded deal where the disc itself gets loaded.
Gets sucked in, kind of like the PlayStation 3 did.
Exactly. So I'm like a fucking idiot sitting there beep, beep, beep. Beep, 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 beep.
The tray's not ejecting.
Yeah, I'm like, clearly this piece of shit, this tray isn't working. And then I finally look at the slot and I'm like, oh dear God, I'm stupid. It's fine.
Slot loaded.
Yes. So yeah, just so you know, there's no tray.
All right. Well, I did know that, but I don't know where that non-tray is.
the non-tray is right in front. It's right in front to the left. Yeah, they might as well seal it up. But yeah, it's there.
All right. Well, I guess that's all I played this week. So why don't we hop over into the new releases, and we're gonna do kind of the same thing since this is more of the Xbox One extravaganza week versus the PlayStation 4 extravaganza week from last week. So first, we'll quickly cover the multi-platform games that we've already talked about either last week or over the past couple months that are out this week for the Xbox One. So those are Battlefield 4, Call of Duty Ghosts, Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag, Madden NFL 25, Lego Marvel Superheroes, FIFA 14, NBA 2K14, Just Dance 2014, Skylanders Swap Force, Need for Speed Rivals, and Zumba Fitness World Party. So we got those out of the way. We've already talked about those in depth. If you can go back to our past shows, if you don't know what Call of Duty Ghosts is, basically we're going to say, hey, it's the same thing, but it looks way more awesome. Like that's basically the spin on everything. Or in the case of Battlefield, 64-player online multiplayer, but you already know about these games. So the new proper releases out this week. First new release out this week is a multi-platform release, and it's NBA Live 14. This is out for the Xbox One and the PS4. This is EA's first release in the NBA Live series since 2010. Now, that's a long time to go without a release. If you remember, after early word on NBA Elite 11, there was a whole lot of buzz. Some reviewers got early copies. It was a huge steaming pile of shit. So they completely scrapped the game. They'd already burned or pressed or whatever they do millions of copies of this game. They ate all those copies because the game sucked so bad. They didn't want to have a second year in a row of bad reviews. They went back to the drawing board. They redid everything from the ground up. They canceled the releases for the next 2 years. They kept letting you believe that they were going to put something out, but they just didn't have anything. This is literally the first game since 2010 in the NBA Live series. I'll tell you, the game looks amazing, but there's no early review scores out for it yet, so I guess we'll have to see how it plays. But looks-wise, for a hoops game, it looks awesome.
Yeah, but I have to agree with chat, which is sports game yawn.
All right. Well, our chat's a bunch of dorks.
No one that listens to us actually plays sports games. I guess.
Just wait till we get the next release then.
Oh, great.
Next new release out this week is also a multi-platform release, and it's Zoo Tycoon, and this is out for the Xbox One and the 360. This is the latest installment in the Zoo Business Sim series, and it's the first time it's ever been on consoles. So before I get into the rest of this, for those of you who don't know Zoo Tycoon, you basically it's like a Sim City, but you're building a zoo and you're dealing with attracting people to your zoo and how you set up your park so that there's not congestion. People can get from exhibit to exhibit. How you maintain, you don't have like shitty animals all in one corner and nobody ever goes there. You kind of spread things out. So that's the gist of the game. The 360 version of this game is single player only and includes 65 animals in the game. The Xbox One version includes not only the standard freeform gameplay, but also a 14-hour single player campaign that they've assembled here. So a lot of challenges and do this task, and a storyline that's wrapped around it. The Xbox One version also includes over 100 animals and a bunch of Kinect-based mini games. So everybody, now that everybody's got a Kinect, you can toss in these little mini games just to kind of change things up and have a good time. You can cooperatively work on your zoo on the Xbox One with up to 3 other people. So you can invite them in. You're all working together on this zoo. And even if you go offline, those other people can still work on the zoo. So now you're all collectively building this one zoo that's out there in the cloud, which is what Microsoft pitched. And that's why this works. So this is kind of a cool feature. One of the first games that's doing this where the entire persistence of your thing is out in the cloud. And because you can invite 3 other people to work on it with you, now you've got everybody working on this all together and people can work on it in their own time. The game's getting surprisingly good buzz. There's no reviews out for it yet, but it's one of those games you can play with kids, or some people are into these world building games, and it's really the only one on the next gen consoles. So it's not for me, but I don't know. What about you, Jay?
This is not. I wasn't waiting for the next Zoo Tycoon, if that's what you're asking.
Well, I was just wondering if I know you like SimCity, so I wasn't sure if you're waiting for that sort of game out there.
I do like simulation games. In fact, I will say one of my favorite games ever is the Oh, now I can't. Of course, I'm drawing a blank. The Tycoon game where you do like the amusement park stuff, which I think is Roller Coaster Tycoon. Yeah, okay. That's one of my favorite games of all time, and that was like I think they did that in like Objective-C, like he just like built it one day, or like in Java or something, like some crazy language that some nerd just built it in, and it still remains one of my favorite games of all time. So there is a place in my heart. It's just that Zoo Tycoon, I don't know if we needed the Zoo version.
Now, the Zoo version is how you bring in kids. And that's what's different between the console version, the PC versions, where the PC versions were always that, you're way up here and the game's happening way down here. But this is more like you can zoom in, you're down there, you can walk through the park in 3D, kind of like the Disneyland Connect Adventures, if you remember that game for Connect on Xbox 360. Like everything is detailed down at the micro level, or you can play the game way up at the macro level, like you're always used to playing this sort of game. So I think that's kind of the pitch to bring kids and everybody else into this, but
not for me.
All right. Next new release out is for the Xbox One. It's Forza Motorsport 5. This is the latest in the Forza series, and it's probably the most realistic looking racing game I've ever seen. And I hate racing games, but this one looks like you're watching fucking TV. It introduces the Drivatar, which is like a digital you that exists in the cloud. So your Drivatar, we saw this at E3 and it's been explained a million times, and I'm not going to explain it right, but your Drivatar basically is this AI version of yourself that learns from your play style, learns how you play and what you do and when you brake and when you accelerate and how you take turns, and it becomes the digital you. And that's something that you compete with and it goes against you, but it also exists in the world when you're offline. So other people come on, they race your Drivatar, and if your Drivatar wins, you can actually XP and level up despite not being online. So it's that part of it kind of makes it a little bit cool. The game ships with over 200 cars and 14 tracks, which seems like a lot for us that don't play these shitty games. But there's a lot of people that have been bitching with this because the original Forza 4 had, I think, 500 cars and a lot more tracks. This is significantly less, but it's next gen. These are obviously there's a lot more that goes into putting these cars together. They're going to have monthly DLC packs for this game with 10 cars each coming each month. So I don't know. I'd say fuck the complainers. This game looks amazing for a racing game. If you're getting an Xbox One, you don't have a PS4, this is probably your next gen racing game. So man the fuck up and play it.
Well, I mean, I don't know if chat can help me. At least I know Sarcasmo can help me. I've been hearing the only complaint is I guess it's less cars than they've normally shipped with. And I don't know if that was to set them up for more DLC in the future, but that was the only complaint I've heard about this game. But I've heard that in general, the game looks good. I don't know if people are not as excited for this Forza. But I mean, I'd have to ask a couple of the other guys, but it's just less tracks. Yeah. Sarcasm.
Less tracks and less cars. But okay. So less tracks is one thing, less cars. So in chat here, for those of you that only listen via the podcast, this is something you miss out on. So you had 550 cars in the original Forza 4. Now you have 200 in Forza 5. Is it like every other game where you fucking dial yourself in, you find that one car you like, and that's all you race? Because whether there's 10 cars or 200 or 500, if you're only going to race the same car, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. I know it's hard to say. I mean, it's one of those things where it's when a company takes something away from you, just in general, people are like, well, the last game had more, so that means that you're giving us less, and therefore this is shit. And so that's a very normal consumer reaction. I'm not surprised by it either. But I do agree that normally you find a certain car. I mean, if you're a super, super, super car nerd like Sarcasmo Jones in our chat, you probably will use one of those cars at least once or twice. That's probably true. Like the super nerd audiophiles, car aficionados are the ones that are going to be super into this game and try to utilize every piece. Now, if I buy the game, I don't know 10 cars from 200. I don't know 3 cars.
You
from
and
200.
I are picking Lamborghinis, Ferraris.
Exactly.
We're going
yes.
to go to
we're like where's the
ones that we had
right.
Posters of Heather Locklear doing
exactly. Yes.
Pull out Heather Thomas fucking in front of Lamborghinis and Ferraris when we were kids. And that's
I want a McLaren. I want the F1 McLaren. I want like ridiculous cars that I'll never be able to get my hands on in real life. And I want to pretend that I can sit in those cars and drive them. That's as far as I go. But yes, for like the super nerds, I think you probably are getting a little bit short end of the stick. But we all know why that is. In a couple months, you will get a download pack that you will pay money for. They will stick it in your ass, and you will buy those cars. I feel sorry for you, but you know the rules, guys. You know the rules.
On the upside, when you don't have to play 500 cars, you only have to play 200. That's a lot more time to go home and have sex with your wife.
That's true. You could actually get some vagina. There's the trade-off here.
Like, you could play 500 different cars at, what is it, like 5-10 minutes a race? That's a lot of time. But if you're only playing 200 cars, that's a lot more poon for you.
You got some free time. You got some free time to rev her engine.
Yes. I see what you did there, bro.
Dear God.
All right. Next new release out this week is also for the Xbox One, and it's Rise, Son of Rome. This is the long-awaited Crytek Roman action-adventure game that we've been seeing in various shapes and forms over the last couple years. We saw this first at E3 2010. At that time, it was called Codename Kingdoms, which, shitty name.
Right.
Then we saw it again the next year at E3 2011, and it was a Kinect-only title that was just called Rise. This year was the first year that we saw it in its latest and greatest shape. It's in its current iteration. It's neither of those things. It looks absolutely amazing gameplay-wise. Early reports in the gameplay that it was more or less a bunch of QuickTime events, and that's kind of what they showed off at E3 this year. But it's been reported that those were just early builds, and now the gameplay is kind of built out around that. The QuickTime events are still there, but there's a lot besides just QuickTime events in the game. Yeah, you control the main character with a controller, and then you have a bunch of legions that follow you, kind of like if you were in the Roman army and you have all these guys that follow you. So you control those guys with your voice. So you can be like, attack and go get them and fucking retreat and whatever you want to yell. And you can use a special voice like I do. You can use your real voice, but you feel more badass if you're using the special voice. It also features a multiplayer arena combat mode. So in addition to the single player campaign, now you can go in there and you do the gladiator type shit, except you're using Roman soldiers. This one could go either way. There's no actual review scores out for this yet, and it's all just buzz from Polygon and all these other guys that have seen the game but can't say anything, but they're kind of hinting towards things. And that's where this information that, it's not the same all QuickTime event thing that we saw at E3 this year is. So I guess we'll know on Friday, but this one could go either way. Either way, the game looks amazing. So if you don't give a shit about gameplay, you just want a game like that you can invite people over and be like, hey, check out my Xbox One. You put this on, people are going to fucking cream their shorts.
It's your showpiece game. Yeah, I mean, it looked okay. I remember when we saw it at E3, I think I was more taken aback by how it looked. But again, coming from the PC world, looks aren't really anything to me. I've seen really awesome games since yesterday. So, I mean, I'm not really impressed by looks very much, but yeah, it looks okay. I mean, I could see it being a fun game. I don't think it's got a lot of longevity, personally, but I don't think that's the type of game it's really trying to be. It's a perfect launch title, I think, really. I mean, you could pick the game up, you'll probably play it for a couple of months, you'll finish the game, and that'll be the end of it. It'll tell a nice story, and you'll enjoy it. But I don't think it's anything that's going to change the face of gaming or anything like that. But it's definitely a very cool take. We haven't really seen a Roman-type game be very successful, so it's a space that really doesn't have a ton of, at least in this third person sort of hack and slash type of way. So
especially not on this scale either.
Yes, just not on this scale.
So many guys in the game.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's got a chance to do decently well. I don't think it'll be a blockbuster, but it's good.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of having a limited launch lineup is that sometimes mediocre titles rise to the top of the pile of mediocrity.
Yep, that's
I don't know if that's a benefit, but hey, it's a benefit to the developer.
If you're the developer, yeah. If you're like, hey, we got this shit game. Oh, guess what? There's no launch titles. We're in it. We're in it to win it.
Our shit is the best of the shit.
Right, exactly. Cream of the poop.
All right, well, next new release out this week is also for the Xbox One, and it's Dead Rising 3. This is the latest in the Dead Rising survival horror series of games, and it's a huge open world environment. They're saying that the actual size of the environment is way bigger than Dead Rising 1 and 2 combined, which is a good thing. It also features enhancements over the past game's crafting systems. So not only can you take any two weapons or things you find and combine them into some more crazy badass weapon, but you can also take two vehicles and combine them together. Like one of the videos that was out this week was they took a street sweeper and an ice cream truck and combined them together in some kind of crazy fucked up vehicle. It features both Kinect support for distracting zombies, so you can be like, hey, over there, and kind of grab their attention, and smart glass support for use as like a smart map. And as we saw at E3, there's a bunch of other cool features you can do from that. Like you can call in airstrikes in certain areas or drop flares to get the attention of zombies in a direction. So it's definitely more than just your controller. You got your controller to do 99% of the gameplay. You got the Kinect voice and smart glass complementing that, not replacing it. So that's really a cool use of both of those features for a game that's primarily a controller-driven game. The scope of the game is huge. It looks awesome, and I know she's still wavering on us picking this up, but I just don't know if I'll have time with all the Call of Duty Ghosts I'll be playing. But I'm sure she'll end up picking this up either way and playing it either herself or co-op. So.
This is a buy for me, believe it or not. I have not really been a part of the Dead Rising series before, but I actually enjoyed everything they showed at E3. It's a type of gameplay that I don't usually get a chance to play. It's just not something I'm usually interested in. I think they're doing enough cool features, like with the airstrikes and the flare dropping and all that kind of stuff, that, again, for a launch title, you're not really competing with that many people in this marketplace. We saw with the Sony PlayStation 4, there's only really 2 games to choose from that are of AAA quality. And on the Xbox One, there's really not that many either, unless you're going to go, third party with either, Black Ops, well, not Black Ops, Call of Duty Ghosts, or Battlefield 4. So, with a limited window, this could be something I'd pick up and play. Maybe not right away, but again, digital first for me. If I can just download it right away, it makes it super easy on me. I'm more willing to download the game and give it a try. So this is definitely on my list. I like what they're doing.
Well, and that's the other unseen benefit of the digital download stuff is that you don't have to think. It's not like you have to go to Amazon and place an order. You don't have to go out shopping for a game. You can be like, oh, you know what? I've had like a bunch of drinks. Fine, I'll buy it. Like they're going to get so many buys from people, those late night buys of games that they don't already own. And it's win-win for everybody involved because you're going to end up trying games that you probably wouldn't have bought sober or if you had to motivate to go get them. And developers and publishers are going to benefit on the flip side because you're buying games that for the same exact reasons.
I agree.
All right.
LB, by the way, LB's already taunting me that I'm going to get a fucked up Xbox One. Because I've already fucked
so
up my
have the full fucked up next gen set.
That's messed up.
Yeah, he's a dick. All right. Well, next new release out for the Xbox One is Fighter Within. Now, this is Ubisoft's next gen fighting game for the Xbox One. Now, don't get this confused with other fighting games you played before because this one is fully a Kinect game. And just as you're wrapping your mind around that, I'm going to keep talking, but you think of this. It's a fighting game that's a Kinect game. So as you throw punches and kicks and pull off various moves in a true one-to-one fashion, the game uses what you're doing in real time in your living room. So as a fighting game, it's probably not the best fighting game you've ever played. But, if you want to get some exercise while you're playing a fighting game and pretend that you're actually kicking the shit out of people, this is actually a pretty good concept. It looks graphic-wise, it's phenomenal, and the movements really are true one-to-one. So it's definitely not for me. If I'm going to play a fighting game, I'd rather sit on the couch and have a vodka and
that
sit
sounds
back and
action-packed to me.
But if I was Van Damme and I got an Xbox One and I was like, oh, fuck this shit. That's the worst Van Damme ever, but that's the voice he's going to have today. And he's like, I'm going to play Fighter Within and kick ass. And so this is more of a Van Damme style game.
I'm sorry. But you're Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Go ahead.
No, I don't. I would never attempt. JCVD is the man. I don't try to get into his world. I can't get into the mind of the master.
That's why I couldn't even get the voice.
That's why I wear a what would JCVD do bracelet when I go to work every day. And I think about, how do I want to handle this situation? I just look at my bracelet.
Yeah. You should get some ink with that.
I should.
What would John put it on both wrists and people will be like, what do you think, Jay? And you're like,
I don't know. What would JCV do? And then what do you say to that?
Point at the wrist.
Yeah.
Show him.
Exactly.
Like, what does that even mean? And you're like, what the fuck? John Claude. Of course. Jackass.
As if you didn't know.
Yeah. Fakers.
All
right. Next new release out this week is on Xbox One, Xbox Live Arcade, and it's Killer Instinct. Now, it's been a long time since we've seen a Killer Instinct game. It's been actually more than 15 years since we've seen this fan favorite fighting game, and now it's finally back. I think we've all played some iteration of Killer Instinct at some point in our lives. The game launches with 6 playable characters, and there's going to be 2 more coming out sometime in the next 4 months or so. It basically features the traditional Killer Instinct gameplay, plus a new feature, which is the Instinct Bar. So obviously all these guys they need to keep up with current gen fighting games. So this is another meter that builds up as you play along. And once you've filled up your Instinct Bar, you have access to a limited time power up that you can enable. And then your guy has some other either buff or feature and there's some graphical representation of it. Like the ice guy, he gets this big ice shield around him. It actually looks really cool. In addition to the multiplayer mode, it also features a full single-player campaign. And you know what? The game looks awesome. It's been getting decent reviews in the mid to high 7s. That's the one thing is the XBLA Xbox One games actually have review scores out because they were not held back like the retail disc releases. So we actually know how these games are doing. But mid to high 7s is pretty decent, and there's a ton of good buzz about the game. So that's another thing we see a lot is that sometimes reviewers give scores that are in the 7s, and then when you start getting the reviews from people that actually play the game that are fans of games, they end up being higher in this case. And this is one of those games where the fans that have actually had a chance to play this game are talking way better about it than the reviewers.
Yeah, that's the case of the Call of Duty Ghosts, where no matter what, they could put out the shittiest game ever, and I think they did, by the way, and they're still going to give it a decent rating. This is the first time I've actually seen ratings for like Ghosts that are actually lower than normal, which is interesting to see. But it's one of those deals where sometimes fan favorites, this is what fans wanted. They're going to get exactly what they wanted, and they're probably going to like the game. When we played it at E3, it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. It was Killer Instinct. It wasn't like some new shit. They weren't trying crazy things. It was like, oh, I remember playing Killer Instinct. Now I get to play it again on my Xbox One with better graphics. There you go. It's like if you wanted a simulation digging game and you want that game, this Super Motherload, you go play it. That's what you're getting. This is the same thing except it's Killer Instinct, just with less dig dug. It's fantastic.
And more fighting.
And more
less
fighting.
dig dug, more fighting. There you go. And more 3D, less 2D.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
All right, next new release out this week is also on Xbox One, Xbox Live Arcade, and it's Lococycle. This is Twisted Pixel's fucked up motorcycle racing game. Now, I played this at E3, and my impression of this is it's the only motorcycle game I've ever played where your motorcycle is racing and your driver is like hanging off the back of the motorcycle, dragging on the ground while you're running. Like, it's not a normal thing. Despite the fun graphics, the game is weird and shitty, and it's been getting review scores in the low 5s, so I don't know about this one. It's not for me. It's way too off the wall. I enjoyed playing it for the 10 minutes I played in E3, but like sometimes when you play a motorcycle racing game, you want your guy actually sitting on the motorcycle and not being dragged behind it.
Yeah, I think it's a fair assessment.
No. Somebody, Sarcasmo in chat saying he saw a score of 2 for this game from one of the sites.
Ouch.
Yeah.
So it's doing better than originally anticipated. They've got a higher score.
We anticipated 0. The average is 5, and Sarcasmo saw 2.
I like it.
And I would have given this a 0 from what I played at E3, but this was one of those between appointments ones, and I was walking by. There's nobody on the 3 Lococycle Xbox Ones.
So you did it out of pity?
Oh, I'll check this out because
there's a developer crying.
Like, come on, try this out. I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And then I was like, well, how do I get my guy back on the bike? And she's like, no, this guy just gets dragged.
You're like, oh, so on purpose? He's like, yeah. You're like, oh, you're fucking retarded. I'm sorry.
They just couldn't figure out the ragdoll physics to keep
they didn't know how to get him on the bike.
Like, let's let Ragdoll just take care of him. He's going to hang out the back and as you're turning and shit. It is really the weirdest game ever.
Oh, that's so sad.
All right. Well, next new release out this week for Xbox One, Xbox Live Arcade is Crimson Dragon. This is the on-rail shooter by the same folks that brought us Panzer Dragoon, which was pretty popular on the Xbox. When we first saw this game at E3, once again, this is one of those ones that's seen multiple iterations. It was originally a Kinect title, but now that's completely gone. It's fully a controller-based game. It features 6 types of dragons and over 100 different moves for those dragons. In addition, the single-player campaign also supports 4-player online co-op. Initial reviews, like we saw for Lococycle, they've been pretty shitty, sitting in the low 5s, which doesn't surprise me because this was another one I had a chance to play with no lines at E3.
So that seems to be the kiss of death. If there's no lines, you could pretty much go, hey, that's a sub-5 game right there. I'm looking at a sub-5 game, haven't got a chance to play it yet.
Yeah, it's one thing if it's something you don't want to be seen playing. Like if it was Cockstroke Simulator and you're like, I'm not going to try Cockstroke Simulator at E3 in front of all these people. But these are games that are supposed to be good. I know you would.
Is that why I had the high score at that game at E3 because no one else was playing?
You're the only guy that played it all of E3.
Damn, because I played it for the entire time. I was chafed at the end, but you know what? High score is important to me.
Yeah, I was getting texts from Jay. Can you take my next appointment? I'm busy or something. I went over and like a huge crowd had formed around Cockstroke Simulator where it was like a dance battle from the 80s and they're all cheering him on. Yeah.
One more stroke. And I gave it to him, goddammit, because I'm a people pleaser.
You did. You were the like of all the E3 stories that came out this year, that is the one that was the top of Joystick and Kotaku and Gama Sutra and Game Politics. Game Politics.
Game Politics.
Legal issues that were involved with Cogstrokes.
Here's the legality behind this game and why we should not have a 33-year-old male getting the high score at E3.
Yes, but yeah. So that one's shitty. That's the moral of the story. But if you're a big fan of Panzer Dragoon, then go ahead and pick it up and.
There you go.
It'll bide your time. That's what some of these things are just, is it the money that it costs enough to satiate you until a good thing comes out? And if you buy enough of these shitty things, then they'll carry you to the good things.
Everyone's waiting to get to Titanfall. Everyone's waiting to get to the next Bungie game. It's this waiting game. That's all we're doing here, people.
Yep. Wait. All right. Well, the last new release out this week is also an Xbox One, Xbox Live Arcade release. It is Powerstar Golf. This is Microsoft's attempt at a Hot Shots Golf style golf game. Despite missing out on some of the humor of Hot Shots Golf and what was the other one? Outlaw Golf back in the original Xbox, they've nailed some of it. It's not quite as funny and quite as over the top, but the golf gameplay is actually really well done. The game features an XP progression system that earlier reviewers have said they kind of fucked that up a little bit. It needs a little bit of rebalancing. And the developer said, hey, you know what? We're going to go in and we're going to fix all this stuff. And rebalancing XP distribution is something that's a fairly easy fix versus like, oh, your graphics suck or your gameplay dynamic is totally suck or this is the worst golf game ever. I can't even swing. Like they have that stuff down. It's just how XP is delivered and distributed. And that's a fairly easy fix. Graphically, the game is stunning. And not just for an XBLA game, but for any golf game you've seen. It's been okay review scores in the high 6s and low 7s. So this may be one, and this is one of those ones you can play with friends too, where you're just like, hey, let's all just like, I don't want to play like a shooter that's nonstop and all we're doing is call outs all night. I just want to hear fucking shit's going on with you. Let's shoot the shit, have some drinks. We'll play a golf game. And this is kind of how that fits in.
Well, if you've ever been to a Tool to Play LAN party, Outlaw Golf 1 and 2 were like highlights of Tool to Play LANs because that's when everyone's done doing the silly tournaments and playing, hours and hours of Halo, wherever we're playing. You go find a corner with Bubba in it and maybe BC and a couple of guys from the site. They're playing Outlaw Golf. They're having a hilarious time. I don't know if this is going to be, as you said, as over the top as Outlaw Golf was because that game was completely over the top and that's what made it so endearing. But it's still cool to see games like this. These are fun games to play with your friends, have a couple beers, do nothing, don't focus at all, shoot the shit, and play some games. So I don't know if I'm going to be buying it or anything. It's one of those one-off games you purchase.
Depending on how much of everything else I'm doing and if I can figure out someone else that's going to be picking this up, this is one of those ones because you're going to be playing Battlefield, I'm going to be playing Call of Duty. This may be one of those games you're just like, you know what, tonight's not a shooter night. Maybe I'll pick up fucking golf here and just, we'll have a couple drinks, shoot the shit, talk about the site, talk about what's going on, talk about next week's show while we play a game of golf.
It's possible. It's possible.
Yep. Well, it's also less weird than you and I just like, I'm going to sit on my couch. Let's have a Skype call, you and me over our new Xboxes. And we'll talk and hang out and I'll drink. You drink. No,
who is doing that, by the way?
I'm sure that'll happen.
Is that happening at some point?
This is less weird than that.
That's really weird. I don't know. I understand the whole Skype thing, but I don't know if I'm going to sit on my couch and Skype people randomly. I think if I did that, someone would be like, dude, why are you Skyping me? It's just weird. Just fucking chat me, fucking nut job. I don't know. I just thought you wanted to fucking hold hands. It's a big deal.
It's like when the cam first came out.
Right. Yes. Yeah, and the cam's sole usage was dudes showing their dicks playing Uno. That was it. That was that's what you did with the cam. Get your balls out.
Tool to Play, we had a decent Uno contingent back when the camera came out. And I forget who was it that had a million outfit changes, and you go play Uno, and they would disappear and they would come back. And it was
sharpshooter.
Yes, this guy he must have worked his house was like a props department for a movie. He'd just duck out of frame and come back in, and he'd be some completely different character, in full makeup and or a mask or It was insane. And in a game of Uno, you might get 20 or 30 costume changes.
Yes.
It was pro.
It's a good time. That's a good time.
Well, speaking of pro. And so I can rest my voice, why don't we hop over into gaming news? First story!
A little bit light on the news this week, but there's so many launches, but let's talk about those launches. The PS4 has sold 1 million units in its first day of availability, which, by the way, is fucking ridiculously pro. That is a huge amount of sales. People probably don't realize it, but that's North America alone. That's a big deal, people. It's a big, big deal. PlayStation 4 reached $1 million mark, or 1 million sold mark within the console's first 24 hours of retail, says Sony. This is yesterday morning. The PS4 launched in North America on the 15th, so that figure is restricted to US and Canada. The console comes to Europe November 29th, and then, of course, Japan, February 22nd, 2014. Our friend and SCEA president and CEO Jack Tretton is predicting 3 million sales by end of year, and within the European launch to come. That is looking incredibly realistic. I would say almost a guarantee, which is just nuts. Sony targets that figure to rise 5 million by the close of the company's fiscal year of March 2014, by which point the console will have reached Japan finally. According to data gathered by NPD, Sony only sold 197,000 PS3 units in the US. That's how big of a difference this is within the first 2 weeks of availability. Are you guys fathoming the amount that they fucking shattered? With shortages, obviously, which were to blame, and that's a big part of this. They might have done a lot more had they had units available, and that's what's really pushing these numbers. Around this time last year, of course, the Wii U sold 425,000 units in the U.S. within its first week at retail, with Nintendo going on to ship 3 million units worldwide by the end of 2012. So this is really, really big, and this is a shot across the bow of obviously Microsoft. So what do you think, Derek, about this news? I mean, you think is it too late to tell, or too early to tell, rather, or what?
It's huge.
It's huge.
There's no way, whether you're a Sony fanboy or a Sony hater, you cannot deny this number is astronomical. That is, and there's been charts out this week that have shown of all like the last 20 console launches, like how many they've sold in that first 24-hour period, and this is 3 times the next biggest launch. And the biggest launch, I think, was the original Xbox, not even the 360, the Xbox. OG 180,
right?
The big bad boy, and I think it's 2.5 to 3 times that amount in that first 24-hour period. So this is absolutely insane, and I think that the only thing that's going to stop the Xbox from matching this is, once again, shortages. If like we said, we can't judge who's ahead in this console war until maybe April, because these things are always going to be sold out until then. There's not going to be, between now and Christmas, if you go into a Target or a Best Buy or a Walmart and you see some on the shelves, it's because they just stocked them and they'll be gone in hours. It's not because they're stock. Everything that's coming is going right out. And I'm just excited to see how Microsoft does with this. This number's huge. Big ups on Sony. Actually, one of the biggest cool things that happened this week was after the Sony PS4 launch, Microsoft the next morning tweets out, congratulations on your launch, Sony. Like that's good guy Microsoft. That's how this is supposed to be. It's us versus them. They know that, there's going to be people that buy one, people that buy the other, some people that buy both, but everybody's in it for the games. And the better that these guys do and the more they push each other, the better everything gets in the long run.
Right.
And you can't have one without the other. Like think back before there was only one cable company, your cable fucking blew. And as soon as they had these regulations to have 2 cable companies per town, it still blows. But you think of how much more it blew then. Like, you don't even know this because we're all too young to remember this. But if you talk to your parents, like I talked to my dad, he's like, oh yeah, we used to pay that much and we only got like 40 channels. And it's just an entirely different thing. So, I don't know. I'm glad that they're both doing well. I'm glad that, Sony came out of the gate so strong with this. I hope Microsoft can do this too.
Agreed.
And I can't see at this point how they can't.
Well, the bigger part of this, and this was something I was talking to a couple of friends about, everyone was saying, like, we are headed down a road where the gaming, industry is going to collapse. No one wants to pay this money anymore. The money just isn't there. No one's going to make the investment. Gamers don't want to do this. This is a giant fuck you to that idea. We are not going, clearly, at least right now, we're not going back to the 1980s. This does not look like a gaming crash by any means. When you are quadrupling day one sales and you're just shattering records, people want to play video games. This big collapse and everything that people have been talking about for the last, let's say 2-3 years has really been propagated by the fact that there hasn't been a new system. There hasn't been the hype. Shit got old. People clearly want to play these new games. People want Titanfall. They want all these new games coming out. This is a great sign for the gaming industry. That's why Microsoft's got to be ecstatic. This means consumers want to play video games. That's a big deal for the forecast of the future. When investors put money into this industry, we want to see these numbers because this means more money comes into gaming. More people want to put their advertising dollars into it. And that means more video games for us. This is good no matter what game system you choose. It's good. So
yeah, actually, I think this news might even be better for Microsoft because going into these launches, the big talk was, Microsoft is going to have the advantage because not only are they selling games, but they are selling this all-in-one family room, home entertainment, all your media, all these other apps, all these other utilities, live TV. It's all hooked in together. And that was the big selling point. And some people I know are actually buying this console for that. So now not only do you have the gaming stuff, but you have that other market of people that if you were choosing between the PS4 and the Xbox One strictly for home media stuff, the Xbox One, it was obviously the winner.
Yeah, agreed.
So I think that Microsoft is going to do phenomenally well here. And I think this is just a great sign for the industry, and it's a great sign where things are going.
I'm happy. I mean, again, and this just goes to show how waiting this long and what waiting this long can do. I have not bought a Sony product since the original PlayStation. I bought a PS4. I mean, I am a part of that 1 million, and I'm proud to be a part of it, even though I currently have a doorstop that has a Sony emblem on it. I know they'll fix the problems, and we're essentially beta testers. I'm aware of that. I always am when I buy, first run products. But this is a great sign. People have been dying to play new games. And yes, this is a launch. We're not seeing many new games now, but just wait till we see these numbers when Titanfall comes out. Just wait till we see when these bigger games launch. Now let's see, we're already at 1 million. We haven't even gotten to AAA true next-gen titles yet. This is good shit, people. Good shit.
Oh, and something else coming up in chat right now is something that not a lot of people are thinking of. Right now, if you had a console and you wanted to stream your gameplay, you were buying another $200 device.
Right.
To go along with it.
Yep.
I'll tell you, on launch day, on Saturday, in the middle of the shit of the launch, I hit one button on my PlayStation 4 controller. I authenticated my Twitch TV account, and I was streaming Resogun within probably 30 seconds of hitting that button. And I had chat showing up on the screen underneath me, and I had my breakout, and it was so easy to do this. So now the investment you're making in the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4 is actually $200 less than it would have been to get the another console because you don't need to buy that additional piece of equipment to do the same thing.
Yeah. And some people in chat are talking about Steam and how it's much bigger and they sell 60 or millions of PCs per year. That's all well and good too, but that doesn't really account for install base. I mean, it's very easy to pick numbers out of the and I'm a PC gamer first, so I'm actually saying this against my own crowd. In terms of the actual value that PC gamers bring into the industry, believe it or not, it's relatively small to what consoles bring. And I know that hurts when PC gamers hear this. I am a PC gamer first. It is relatively small. Steam does have a decent chunk of that area. There's no question about that. But really, they're the only large player in that area as well. So again, I hate saying this, but whatever the console market is doing, and that's why you see most of those ports going from console to PC and not PC to console, they dictate the flow of money more than anyone else. Now, having said that, the whole play game could change when Steambox comes out and we start seeing this Steambox melding into the actual living room, and console gamers can play their PC games through their library on Steam on their couch. That's a possibility. But when you actually break down those numbers, you will see more money coming in from console than you ever will on Steam. I mean, that's just a sad truth currently if you're a PC gamer.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, someday if integrated graphics on PCs become comparable to high-end graphics cards, then maybe you can take that huge PC install base number and say, okay, well then every PC is potentially a gaming PC. But right now it's not. Right. There might be 200 million PCs in the world, but there's such a small percentage of them that can play these next-gen games.
Yes, exactly. And again, any PC can theoretically play a video game, but because you can't weight that level of video game that you're playing, it's very hard to get real numbers on the PC market. Obviously I can play Minesweeper and you can call me a gamer if you want to, but we both know that doesn't make me a gamer. You can play World of Warcraft on a shitty Google PC at this point. Again, doesn't necessarily mean you're at that same level or playing those games that you're playing on a PC. So it's very, very hard to really dictate that. And WoW, because you guys know how I love to talk about WoW. WoW is the best example because you can play Warcraft on the shittiest PC on the planet. That doesn't necessarily mean you're competing directly with the PS4. That's a next-gen only system. So I hate. This is why I hate having that argument with those three because they intersect in ways, but they are not mutually exclusive. It's not the same thing for all of them. So
exactly.
So there you go. All right. Having said that, let's go on to the next story, and this is sad in comparison to the previous story. Limited edition white Ouyas are. Oh God. Even when I say Ouya, I feel sad. They double down on the storage. The Ouya, which we've talked about many a times in a sad and lonely sort of way, is offering a limited edition console for the holidays in North America. The white Ouya changes up on the program by offering double, get this, 16 gigabytes. Whoa! Of internal storage for $130. I think I can get a couple terabytes for that amount, which is $30 more than the standard Ouya console. The console is up for pre-order through Ouya right now. All orders received prior to December 8th will guarantee the console's arrival in time for gifting for your Christmas or holiday spirits. A new update, which is planned later this month, will unlock external USB storage for all the consoles, which is a good thing. This new update also presents many changes to the UI and, of course, how games are listed in the Discover area. The next iteration of the Ouya hardware is planned for 2014, but let's be honest, does anyone actually give a fuck about this system? I think the Wii U is doing better than this system at this point. Am I crazy?
As an Ouya owner, I can say this thing is a steaming pile of shit. It's been turned on. Actually, I turned it on 2 weeks ago to try to load on Xbox Media Center onto it because there was an announcement that there was a port for the Ouya of that. I thought, well, maybe, I'll just make another Media Center thing, toss in one of the bedrooms.
Right,
but it is, it's still the worst $99 plus whatever I paid for the second controller money I've spent in a long, long time.
I'd say you would be better off getting a Wii U. I would rather spend more money and get a Wii U than get an Ouya at this point.
Yeah, the Ouya is a steaming pile of shit, and just because they're making it white and giving you more storage to store shitty Android phone games, like there's a reason why they're for phones because they blow dick.
Right.
Yeah.
The irony is that there's plenty of better games on the iPhone. I think they don't even have the good games, if you could say that, for the Ouya. Again, they're literally polishing a turd. They're taking a turd and they're putting white on it, and they're like, yeah, no, it's good. It's white now. It's good. It's good. It's good. Play it. It's good. No.
It's like a bird turd now instead of dog shit.
Exactly.
But you know what? What it boils down to is it's all still shit.
Terrible.
All right. Well, on that, why don't we hop egg and voicemails? Altius asks, now that you've got your PS4s and are enjoying them, what feature that is missing are you most excited to get from your Xbox Ones?
Oh, I'm going to answer this right away.
I know mine right off the bat.
Media.
Yeah.
Basic media. I don't even want a fucking TV thing that notices who I am and play all the cool shit that the Xbox One's going to have. I was literally, and I don't mean to be this like anti-Sony dude, but well, first of all, my system didn't work, so the phrasing of enjoying is probably a little off. But no local streaming of media to me is absolutely absurd in this day and age. It's absurd. I would go so far as to say is the $100 extra that you're paying for the Xbox One. That's it right there. I mean, fuck. If I can't even stream, fuck. Not even music, people. There is no connection from your PS4 to your fucking home computer. What?
That's a fair bit of hatred, and the Xbox One will fix that. I'm looking for not only that, but tonight. Look right now. It's just past 8:00. Show's gonna be finishing soon. I'm gonna go upstairs and I want to watch the Patriots game. If I had the Xbox One, I could fucking snap my Patriots game in the corner and play a game down here. But I can't do that with the PS4.
That's fucked up, man.
Yep.
I mean, on a basic level, media, and it's almost like they rallied against that because they didn't want to be like the Xbox. Here's the thing: if you're gonna label your console gaming first, I totally get it and I respect that. And I was stoked for it too. I was on board. I was like, yeah, gamers, fuck all those pussies who want to watch TV. Fuck those pussies. And then I was like, okay, yeah, fuck those pussies, but I just want to stream a little bit of Sons of Anarchy to I can't? What the fuck?
You wanted your TV, even though you didn't want your TV.
I didn't know.
Yep.
That's insane. Like,
knowing's half the battle.
I mean, really, if it was just that they gave us the features that were in the system that was 7 years old. I feel like just give me what you gave me 7 years ago. Then we can at least.
I almost think that Sony, part of this is because they hated that. They hated the fact they had that feature. If you remember, people would download torrents, they would watch their movies, and then Sony made a bunch of patches that would do things like they started putting in their own Blu-rays because they're a Sony Pictures. That's where this whole problem came from. So then the Sony Pictures movies, they would put this digital watermark so you get like 20, 30 minutes into a movie and it would drop you out if it was not playing off a Blu-ray.
Right.
So Sony's like, hey, here's the easy solution. No one's going to play shit on our console if we don't give them the ability to play stuff. And then when that news came out in their, I think it was the launch frequently asked questions that came out last week, there was so much negative backlash. They said, okay, we didn't know people wanted this, but now we're going to make sure we add it. It'll be coming soon. But they had to know people wanted it.
Yeah, and again, like they're talking about it in chat. Like, yeah, there's several ways to stream shit to your TV. This is not the point at all. I mean, you're missing the point completely. The point is, this was in the system that I got 7 years ago. That's what we're talking about here. We're talking about like it costs them no money to put it in. This is not like it is a feature that, like you said, is built into televisions. It's built into everything. But I don't want to have to switch my input to another device. There's no reason anymore. There is so much power in that box that there is if there's enough power in my TV to do this, then why the fuck isn't it in my $400 system I just purchased? It makes no sense. Exactly. It makes no sense.
It's fucked up.
It's fucked up.
All right. Well, if any of you have feedback like Altius, give us a call, 773-527-2961. Email us at podcast@tooltoplay.com. You can also comment on this episode's thread on the Tool to Play homepage. Sponsors, remember, if you want to sponsor us, same number, 773-527-2961, podcast@tooltoplay.com. Tell us what you're selling. We'll tell you what you're going to pay us. We'll sell it. You pay us. Boom. Done. Twitter us up. You can find everything Tool to Play related at twitter.com/tool-to-play. Everything podcast related at twitter.com/still_got_game. I, king of the internet, got of everything that's holy at twitter.com/Derek Nolan.
And you can find me over at twitter.com/dudeIRock.
Facebook the fuck out of us, facebook.com/tool-to-play, facebook.com/Derek Nolan.
Facebook.com/dudeIRock.
Please enjoy and subscribe to the Tool to Play YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/tool-to-play. You can find Still Got Game, Thick and Thin, and all of our other fine video programming there. And it helps us out, helps you out. You'll be notified when there's new shows from any of your favorite series on Tool to Play. So go there, subscribe. It definitely helps us out. Also, please rate and review the podcast in iTunes. Give us 5 stars. Tell people we're gods. We make your day better. Whatever you want to tell them, just give us 5 stars. And actually, you know what? Next week, since we're going to be out of the console busyness, we'll actually read some of the reviews on there because some of you put out some pretty good reviews, and I'm going to toss some Torchlight codes your way or something to that effect because the reviews that we're now getting are actually really well written. Not just the 5-star ones, but the ones that people are taking some time to write some stuff. So we do appreciate that. I have read your reviews, and it means a lot. But for those of you that haven't done that yet and you enjoy the show, it takes 5 seconds out of your day. Please go to iTunes, search up Still Got Game, give us 5 stars, and write something nice about us, please. And who knows, maybe you'll be picked for a prize too. Join us each and every Monday night live at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific, twitch.tv/tool-to-play. That's where we do this show live. You can join in the chat. And as you heard tonight, more than even more recent weeks, we've done a lot of taking stuff from chat, bringing it to the show, taking the show, bringing it back to chat, and forming a dialogue there. And you too can be part of that dialogue. All you have to do is show up online. And, even if you're at work, you're a West Coast guy, you're like, it's 4 o'clock. What are you going to do between 4 and when you leave the office? Fuck it. Just minimize us in the corner or shrink us down, do the pop out of the video, drop it down the corner, keep your work open in the main spot, pop out the chat, fucking join in, have a good time. But it's definitely where all the shit happens. And, if everything ever crazy happens, like someone gets their hair lit on fire or something, it's only going to be here because I'm going to cut that out of the YouTube version. Well, maybe I'll leave it.
No, you leave it in there.
What am I saying? But at least you can participate live.
Exactly.
All right, and on that, why don't we wrap this marathon episode up? I am Derek D. Smooth Nolan.
And I am Joel Dude I Rock, Albert.
Xbox One, baby!
It's coming.